Hi, my name is Samantha Fox, and today I'm presenting on W.E.B Dubois. His full name is William Edward Bigart Dubois, and he was born on February 23, 1868, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. His childhood, he didn't experience much discrimination. He didn't even know about Jim Crow laws, and he didn't even experience racism until he went to college. He went to college in the South. That experience is a lot because it's the South. He attended Fisk University, and he studied there for a couple of years, and after getting his bachelor's degree, he went off to Harvard. After 4 years at Harvard, he received a fellowship to attend University of Berlin, and he traveled Europe for a couple of years before coming back and finishing out his schooling in Harvard. He was the very first African American to earn a doctorate at Harvard. And after all the schooling he had, he served for 2 years as a professor of Greek and Latin at Wilberforce University in Ohio. This is actually where he met his wife. Her name was Nina Gomer. She was actually one of his students, which is kind of funny. They were married on May 12, 1896. And they had 2 children, which one of them died in infancy, and she actually later died, and he did marry again later in life. He didn't start to get into activism until around this period, and he published the Philadelphia Negro. He also publicly opposed Booker T. Washington. These 2 men were always at odds because they believed different things when it came to civil rights, which I'll explain later. In 1903, he published his influential work, The Souls of Black Folk. It's a collection of 14 essays. In 1909, he co-founded NAACP. This is the thing he's most known for because it's so popular still today. It's an association for advancement of colored people. That's what it stands for. I'll also explain that later. At the age of 95, he died on August 27, 1963 in Accra, Ghana. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about his major contributions. A lot of people believe that he was the most important black protest leader of the first half of the 20th century. His belief was that he wanted African Americans to embrace their own culture instead of trying to be like white people. He didn't want them disliking your own culture because it's causing so much heartache, but to embrace it and fight for your rights as an individual. He also was a big believer in protest, and that's where him and Booker T. Washington were at odds, because Booker T. Washington wanted blacks to accept discrimination for the time being and elevate themselves through hard work and economic gain. That's what Booker T. Washington was all about. Du Bois led the Niagara movement in 1905, and this movement only lasted for 5 years, so it's not something that's really known, but it is direct inspiration for the NAACP, which he co-founded. He was the editor for the NAACP's monthly magazine, The Crisis, and this magazine became phenomenally successful, and it was something that people looked at for years to come. He was known as the father of Pan-Africanism, and Pan-Africanism it's asserting the importance of a unified black identity, and Du Bois, he was all about having your own identity, especially if you're African American, because they're always sadly discriminated on. He taught at Wilberforce University, which I mentioned earlier, but he also taught at Atlanta University, and that is where he published the Philadelphia Negro. Du Bois was so many things. He did so much in his lifetime. He was a civil rights activist, a public intellectual, Pan-Africanist, professor of sociology, historian, writer, and editor. He did live 95 years, so he accomplished a lot. He also wrote 22 books, including 5 novels, and helped establish 4 academic journals. Now I'm going to talk about how Du Bois affects teaching today. Du Bois was such an influential figure, and he still is today. If it wasn't for him, the school system wouldn't be the same. It might still be segregated. That would affect me so much if the school system was still segregated. But I'll talk about how Du Bois affects me later. In teaching, his belief was that to have your own identity. And teachers today want students to speak up and contribute to classroom discussions. This could be related to Du Bois' teachings. And he also was a big believer of equality in education, which is very important today. We believe that there shouldn't be a social class, like social ranking. We want everyone to get the same education, and this is what Du Bois was big on. And he affected the school system a lot. And now I'm going to talk about how Du Bois affects me. My life would be completely different if schools were still segregated. A lot of my friends I wouldn't have. The material I learned in school would be different. I'd be so oblivious to all the problems in our society. And in general, I would be a different person. Du Bois is such a respected man, and he helped put a stop to social injustice of the mistreatment of African Americans. He really is an example for people everywhere to fight for what you believe in and for what is right. Du Bois saw the importance of understanding the past and embracing your culture, not in being something you're not. I love this philosophy, and I want to teach in this way when I become involved in the educational field. I want my students to understand their past and not live in ignorance. And so this is W.E.B Du Bois. Thank you. Bye.